Check 1 2, testing audio.
Check 1 2, baby.
Good afternoon. It's Counselor Santos checking in virtually.
Coming through clear, Councillor Santos. Thank you. Councillor Keenan, can we do a mic check, please?
Hey, how are you?
Thank you. You're coming through clear.
and the Brampton Library. So I'm going to call up first LaRose Mercade, Executive Director, Downtown Brampton BIA.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I want to introduce our new board chair, Stephanie, who's going to provide some opening remarks first.
Honorable Mayor, esteemed council members, good morning. Thank you, or good afternoon, I should say. Thank you for having us here today and allowing us to speak on behalf of the organization of Downtown Brampton, BIA. I would like to start off by kind of just opening up with our vision as an organization. We are the Downtown Brampton Local Economic Growth Accelerator, and we hope to attract new businesses downtown Brampton, retain the existing businesses that we currently have by creating an enjoyable public realm, an experience for all of our neighbors and community members, and generating visitors also to our downtown. Our mission over the next 5 years is to hope to strengthen the economic health and livability for our neighborhood through strategic investments in the public realm, cultural programming, brand awareness, and through advocacy as well. Our strategic goals for this are safe and beautiful streetscaping in alignment with our council and the mayor's projects, thriving retail and restaurant economy, a unique cultural experience and events brought downtown, and a strong neighborhood identity. Sorry.
Yeah, next one.
The next one. Our BIA members are our top priority, and we do take great pride in listening and taking back feedback from all of our members and understanding their needs and advocating on their behalf. We are working collaboratively with the city and hopefully continuing that collaborative work and overcoming the upcoming challenges in our city and our downtown. The Downtown Brampton BIA have identified 4 strategic priorities for our 2025 budget. We're looking for a new strategic plan over the next 5 years, and this will be our top priority for the BIA organization. Next, we will be looking for a brand refresh, so really showcasing what Downtown Brampton has to offer with a fresh face. We also would like to work closely with the city for the boundary expansion. And also, we are looking forward to all the great and exciting projects that we saw earlier this morning in the annual budget presentation by the mayor and its council members. And we'd like to work closely with them as well to advance with those projects. And I'll leave the rest to Mr. LaRose.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. Once again, my name is LaRose Mercader. Again, I'm delighted to be here to walk you through our 2025 proposed action plan and budget for the Downtown BIA. Since I started my role here 6 months ago, we really hit the ground running, working with the BIA board, all our members in downtown, but also the incredible city staff here and all across the different departments, but also the support of the mayor and members of council to really animate, activate, and elevate our downtown. In the last 6 months alone, since we've been here, we've worked really closely with our local partners to host a series of free family events. And I know Mr. Mayor and members of council have been to some of them, including Party in the Lanes in the summertime. We had a Halloween Spooktacular in Garden Square, and we had a wildly successful holiday shopping spree campaign that generated 1,400 entries from across shoppers from across the city and from the GTA, but also $130,000 worth of receipts and economic spending in our downtown during the holiday season. In September, we also launched the new downtown safety pilot with the security team patrolling from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week to address the key safety issues alongside the city's Welcoming Streets team. The downtown business community is excited to see major streetscape projects under construction that will really transform the look and feel of our downtown in the years to come. The reopening of Gage Park in time for the skating season, and we're really excited to see the design competitions for the revitalization of Ken Williams Square and Garden Square underway. We were also really excited this morning, Mr. Mayor, to hear at your business roundtable that major announcements will soon come on the Center for Innovation the LRT tunnel extension into the downtown to connect with the GO train station, and the Main Street Heritage Block. With major construction now launched and more to come over the next 4 years, we will have major disruption to the downtown businesses. We need the City Council's continued support of the BIA to continue to address things like graffiti, lighting, security, cleanliness, and marketing of the downtown. We need to let everybody know that downtown Brampton is still open during construction. So for our 2025 request to City Council is to approve and continue to support the BIA at the same level as 2024. The 2025 proposed budget is $1,089,335, with the City of Brampton funding seeing no increase and also remaining at $361,471 in cash and in-kind services. The BIA levy will also remain the same at $386,000, and the BIA will also withdraw $111,343 from our reserves, and an additional $235,000 will be raised to come from sponsorships, grants, and other marketing revenues. If you could advance to the next slide, please. So I just wanted to show, once again, we want to stress that we want to propose no increase versus the 2024 requests from the City of Brampton. These were the same amounts, categories, and activities that were approved by Council last year, and we're requesting that remain the same for 2025. We do acknowledge that a lot of these categories were underspent and did not proceed as planned. My position as executive director was not filled until August 2024, so a lot of these projects could not been carried underway in 2024, but now that I'm in my place, that we're working with the team, coordinating with city staff, we're really confident that we'll be able to execute this in 2025. If you could go to the next slide, please. This is also the continuation of the support that the city has given to the BIA in 2024, and again, continue in 2025. The last couple of slides is we really wanted to, if you could advance the next slide, please. This is just the total spending categories in all the different sections of the BIA. So things like marketing, events, and BIA operations would continue the same in the same line items in 2025. But also in our action plan this year, we really want to detail to you all of the different points and activations, and there's also clear understandings in terms of the benchmarks and also the data that's being collected, so we could report back to you in a year's time that we were able to execute all that we had laid out before you today. I'm happy to take any questions from you, Mr. Mayor, and members of council.
Thank you, LaRuse and Stephanie, for the presentation. Congratulations on being elected as chair. We have a few questions for you. I see we have on the list Councillor Vasante, Councillor Santos, Councillor Paleshi, and Councillor Singh in that order. So starting off with Councillor Vasante.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and no questions. Rose and Stephanie, thank you for coming here today. I also want to add my congratulations to the new chair of the BIA, Stephanie Comas, for your vision and leadership, and also thanking you, LaRose, for the leadership that you have been providing over the past 6 months. It's been a refreshing change, and looking forward to continuing to work with you together with Councillor Keenan. And I see that other members have questions, so I'll let them go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Santos, we have your hand up online.
Yeah, thank you through Mayor Brown, Rose, and Stephanie. Thanks so much for the presentation. A couple of questions for Stephanie and then Lou Rose, and then I have a couple of comments regarding the past few years with respect to BIA. So, Stephanie, you mentioned in your comments about putting together a new strategic plan for the next 5 years. City of Brampton is undergoing a lot of construction, as we all know, and revitalization in the downtown. So, like, what is your thinking about what that strategy is going to be, considering all of the transformation that's happening in the downtown, which, quite frankly, are all city projects?
So this is something we discussed earlier on today, actually, with our executive director, Rose. This is going to take lots of strategic planning, sitting down with our board members and discussing and collectively coming up with a consensus of what we would like our BIA, or hear what our BRA members need from us, and then put that towards a plan, and then align that also as closely as possible with the city's projects that are underway.
So will your strategic plan involve working with the city or separately?
With the city, absolutely.
And also,
Okay, great.
yeah, and also local residents of the downtown, but also across the city as well. We want to hear from people and really understand the market. Like, have you been to downtown? Why haven't you come to downtown? What would attract you to come visit here? So really understanding the market so we could really attract everybody to come visit and support downtown. Our last strategic plan was in 2021, and it expires this year, and I would say it's very inward looking. But obviously we know all the investment that City Council is making. We want to bring everybody to experience our downtown, so this new strategic plan will help us do that.
Thank you, Lou Rose. And I should have said welcome again, even though I welcomed you before. Lou Rose, I think you're doing a great job in your new role, and I'll have further comment about that shortly. Speaking of some of the new things that you're going to be doing as a BIA, just off the top of your head, Stephanie, how will you be planning to do things differently?
That's an excellent question. Thank you, Councillor Santos. I hope that I speak for everybody on our board, but I like to work very collectively. It will be a joint venture, not just as a chair, as a singular person, but as a whole board, as a team, and working towards that team vision. So it's not my vision per se, but it's a team collaboration on how we can work to strengthen our community within the downtown.
Okay, thank you, because $363,000 from the city of Brampton is a lot of money. It was a lot of money last year, on top of the other incredible work that we did together with the BIA over the previous years, to include things like the construction mitigation grant, which the BIA brought forward as a proposal to help with construction in the downtown. That was a fantastic thing that happened before you came along, Stephanie, as well as the Welcoming Streets program, where the downtown BIA businesses came to the region of Peel to delegate and advocate for the Welcoming Streets program, which was another amazing thing that the BIA has done in the past, before your time, Lou Rose. And then also I've seen a significant increase in marketing as well as events. I think this Spooktacular event, which I attended personally, was fantastic. Stephanie, are we going to see a continuation of some of those creative ideas and those events that have been successful over the past 3-4 years?
Absolutely. Everything that we've looked at will be results driven. So if it's done well in the past, it absolutely will be coming back for future years to come. And then always improving on things that need to be improved upon.
Wonderful. And Stephanie, you talked about working as a team. Can you elaborate more on how you as the new chair will be working as a team, not just with the city, but the rest of the businesses, those included on the board, and how you can report back on how that's doing?
Absolutely. My vision for that is to work closely with the BIA staff, with Executive Director LaRose, by being as present as possible in the community with the members, whether that's on a monthly basis, weekly basis, however that may look like, in conjunction with the Executive Director, but absolutely being part of as many community events as possible along with the BIA.
Okay, and my final thing is that I know Councillor Kaleshi perhaps might bring this up again for this budget cycle, but I totally appreciate the fact that this is the only BIA that exists in the city of Brampton, and I do appreciate the fact that the work of the downtown BIA is important as part of the revitalization and the vibrancy of our downtown core. However, it is the only BIA that is getting a substantial amount of money from the city of Brampton. As part of your strategic planning, Stephanie, I'm wondering if we could also include there a report back to council more regularly on how things are going, and also comparatively to other municipalities, how much other BIAs and other municipalities are getting directly from their municipalities. Do you have that information?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Councillor, I'm coming from the City of Toronto, where we had 84 BIAs, and the City of Toronto just released that they have a goal of having 100 BIAs by the year 2030. If we look at the BIA just south of us, or the city south of us in Mississauga, they have 5 BIAs across their city. I don't have the exact figures of how much the city of Mississauga provides support to those BIAs, but I imagine it's similar programming that we do here as well too. The only difference here in the city of Brampton that I've never seen anywhere else is the construction mitigation grant program. That's unprecedented, that the city would directly support businesses during the construction period. And so we thought that was fantastic, that we're really blazing the trail in that field to support businesses during a difficult time. But we're happy to work with city staff, especially economic development, to do that comparison. And of course, we would love to see other BIAs across the city of Brampton as well too. So if we could provide our expertise to city staff and council to be able to replicate this model in other parts of the city, we'd be more than happy to work with those other communities to start one up. I know when I go to events, other businesses have come up to me asking me how come there's no BIA in their neighborhood. And so I think we need to establish a mechanism of how to create that here in the city.
And thank you, Lou Rose, and the fact that you know the BIAs and how they've operated in Toronto and have done it before is another reason why I think that it's great to have you in this new role. Certainly that's something that we didn't have in the past until you came along. And thank you again for mentioning the construction mitigation grant. You're absolutely right. The BIA, previously, with all due respect, Stephanie, previously to Stephanie becoming chair, I know that particular board worked very hard and thought very creatively on how to get a construction mitigation grant. I have no further questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Santos. Next up is Councillor Pelletier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for coming today to present. I'm just seeing this for the very first time, so I do have some questions on the grants and sponsorships of $235,000. How much of those, if any, grants and sponsorships come from the city of Brampton?
No, they would not be from the city, to be outside. So
None of
other
them?
funders,
Where do
other
they
levels
come
of
from?
government.
Sorry, I cut you off, and
course,
please continue.
Yeah. So a large majority was from other governments. So namely, the federal government had a great program supporting downtowns and BIAs.
Okay.
So I believe there was like $160,000 through that program alone. And there was some success to get corporate sponsors to support BIA events and activities. So
Excellent.
A good example is Daniels Corporation
For sure.
sponsored our shopping spree campaign. We Watch sponsored the Spooktacular. We want to build on that, and I know the city has a great sponsorship program as well too. So if we could replicate that success with the BIA, hopefully in future years, that would help offset some of the costs that the city's currently taking on.
Excellent. Going back to, it says no increase versus the 2024 request. But did you receive that amount in 2024, or was that just a request of 2024?
It was a request, and so from what I understand, if the project did not get underway, that transfer did not happen to the BIA.
Which ones?
The biggest one that was executed in 2024 was we did execute the graffiti removal program. So we hired Goodbye Graffiti. Got an excellent report in terms of removing graffiti within private property within 24 hours, actually.
And can I jump on that
Yes,
really
of
quickly?
course.
Because I think I had asked you to go and get your own graffiti company.
That's right.
Because it's probably cheaper for you to do it than it is for us to do it. And are you finding that?
I don't know what the cost is from the city of Brampton, but we're really happy with this.
Okay,
this
so
company.
can we verify that? Because we just ultimately will want them to, I don't know who I'm looking at, Peter, I think. Can we verify that? Because ultimately we want, everybody to get the cheapest, most bang for their buck, please. And continue, please.
Yes. And so, a good example is banners. We couldn't do that this year because the hardware was not installed, and so we're coordinating with city staff to ensure that's able to be executed. That is a visible presence in terms of coming into the downtown, so ensuring that. Also, the marketing with Brampton Transit and the digital thing, again, we did not align in time for this year. We did do a signature event. We had a Taste of Downtown Brampton event at the end of August, so we did execute that. For 2025, our new signature event will be Party in the Lanes. So it's an existing program that we already do right now, but we want to make that sort of our signature event for the summer. So if you go to Hamilton, you would think of their art crawl. So we want to do something similar to that scale.
Excellent.
Here in downtown Brampton. So really bringing regional visitors to come visit us. The safety team, we did launch that. We signed a contract in September of this year. And again, this has been wildly successful in terms of raising the perception of safety in our downtown. And we want to renew that contract for the full year in 2025. And then also the increased lighting in some of our laneways. Again, this project did not advance, but we do want to execute that moving forward because we do hear feedback that, again, we do need to improve sort of the lighting, especially at nighttime in these laneways.
Okay, so I'm seeing that what was the total amount that would have been in that category that we did provide for 2024? Do you have that number?
I don't have that number in front of me, Councillor, but I can come back to you.
Okay,
so
please.
Just to confirm, the only thing that the project on this page that did proceed this year was the graffiti removal and the security and the specialty event. So if you add those totals, it would be roughly around.
So those
same
three,
amounts.
and that's it.
That's right.
But then you have salaries, which
Yeah. So the next page, Councillor, is that would be. That also was executed. That's how you recruited me to come work at the City of Brampton. And I understand that this salary topic comes through the Downtown Revitalization Office to be able to provide this funding to the BIA. And then also the arts and culture. I'm not sure the full amount, but this is when the BIA books Garden Square or Ken Williams Square for events. You would provide that in kind to us.
in kind, yeah.
Yes.
What about, and the rent relief?
Yes, so as previously from what I understand, the BIA was in a city-owned building and had to relocate. And so that continued on in 2024. And then also for the BIA levy, these are the buildings, namely on Main Street south, I believe, or north, where the city is, the Heritage Block. Those are the buildings that the city owns.
Do we pay a levy for the building that you're in?
It's a good question. We just moved our office. We would have to be paying for a levy for that. I would have to come back and confirm that, Councillor.
Okay. I don't believe, like I said, I'm just kind of seeing this now. See if there's another counselor on the board. I will continue to say that I'm jealous that there's only one BIA in the city. I don't have a BIA. I've said it 100 times. Maybe I need to steal somebody. Like we have a fantastic downtown ambassador sitting in the audience, Emma, up there, that maybe we can grab her and bring her to, maybe she can open up a business in Mount Pleasant, and then I can start a BIA. I think that, don't shake your head, Emma. I think it's a great idea. And I continue to beg and plead and anything that we can do for Mount Pleasant. I know we have had some turnover there, but there are some people that would like to get it going. So if we can continue to look in that would be great. And again, thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you, Councillor, and more than happy to work with you and city staff to maybe you could be the second BIA in the City of Brampton next year.
Would love it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pleshy, and I would note, last term of council, there was discussion about starting a Bramalea BIA that didn't materialize, but if there ever was a BIA created in Mount Pleasant or in Bramalea, I can very clearly say I would want to support that as well, and you would have my support at budget time to make sure that it had the same resources. I think BIAs are a great tool to support small businesses, so if Emma accepts your challenge, count me in to support that. Next person on the list is Councillor Medeiros.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, thank you very much for the request. Is I think not only is it reflective, I guess, of the spirit of the times we live in, so that was very prudent. But one of your comments in terms of underspent dollars, So are you confident that this budget, you'll be able to spend it accordingly? And the second part of the question, maybe you can touch upon, based New Guard, new ideas, and I know you're going to be going through the strategic review, but from this year's budget and compared to last year, what are some salient differences or different directions that you'd probably want to highlight in terms of where we're going?
Right. Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mr. Chair. So I'm confident that we'll be able to, this is a realistic budget, just from my experience working with other BIAs in the city of Toronto. And the great thing is, I think working with city staff, our partners, to really lay out this year's action plan, and which is before you right now. So it aligns with everything that we've set out and agreed to do moving forward. I think the key differences here, we've shifted where the dollars are being spent. The new strategy around events is we have 3 types of categories of events. One is we're going to do a series of signature events. These are bigger events, larger budgets that really attract people from across the region to come visit the city. And so I just mentioned it would be the Party in the Lanes would be our signature event for the summer, and then also our Halloween Spooktacular is another one that we've identified as another key driver in terms of people coming, and the holiday shopping spree campaign. So the budget this year is to focus more of those event and marketing spending on those bigger events. But then we also do all these activations like, carriage rides in downtown and music series. So we're calling that a new category called tactical events. And again, really measuring to make sure that there's a return on investment when we are doing these types of events, that this is worthwhile. So we've done that review about what worked in 2024, what will advance in 2025. And then the new category is something we called partnership events. We know we can't do this alone. There's been some great sort of other event organizers, and especially with the reopening of Gage Park here and the revitalization of the squares, I think we know a lot of events relocated to Shinkuzi Park. Could we, convince 1 or 2 of them to come back downtown? And also there's like the World of Jazz Festival we supported last year. And I know that for the first time there was the Latin Festival, which I didn't get to see, but I heard was a vibe downtown. So can we support those type of activities to get people to host things in the downtown area? So that's sort of the other key difference in the budget this year as well, too.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, I was really pleased to read that one as part of a strategy. And it was interesting, Councillor Basante and myself, we had a meeting this morning about the Lusophonia Festival, the Portuguese festival they usually do. And I remember when they're here in the downtown, a lot of the restaurants and bars, they really benefit from that presence. And so it's great that you've identified that as a driver. And I think my last question, which has always been a struggle since I've been elected, is trying to find that cool factor in the downtown. So we have, we always talk about, I guess, part of us is, some of the challenges that we have as a councillor is the noise factor. We're close to communities.
Yeah.
But young kids in their 20s, I look at my son, 20 years old, comes back from Waterloo. He knows more spots downtown now than I do, hangs around. But there's always that question, there's nothing like the nightlife or any of that stuff. Is there ever a focus or promotion trying to get that cool factor for those? Because a lot of university kids are traveling on that GO station.
Yes.
Who are looking just to hang out here on the weekend when they come to Brampton.
I think we're starting with that strategy already. I think also I will pay kudos to the city staff, especially in the culture and arts division. We did an art walk tour just on December the 1st, unveiling some cool artwork. I know from my experience in other BIs in Toronto, that is a driving factor for people to come see things, this selfie type moment that they want to share on their social media. So I think if we could build on that collection in downtown, I know there was a new Birdo mural on the side of the Rose Theater, which is great. So if we could do more of that, a larger scale of that, that'd be fantastic. And then also, I think it's just looking at the types of events that we're doing and the programming that comes to it. So that's why we talked about cultural experiences in downtown. And so can we curate that? I think we have the pieces here. We have some great institutions like PAMA, Gage Park, the Rose Theater, and it's just bringing that all together. I do think that's why we also put funds and sort of a focus on our brand refresh, right? I do always point out, like the logo right now, the Downtown Brampton BIA, I have no clue what that is. Just like a bunch of buildings. Does that really speak to Brampton? So I think this is why we want to listen to our members, listen to the city, and see, how can we actually bring that pride that you want to bring your friends and family to downtown Brampton and experience the city. I will say that we also have some great partnerships with the Honey Badgers. We had a meeting with them about Could we do a campaign together? Could we activate the downtown through sports as well too? So that's to come in 2025 as well.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Medeiros. Councilor Palesh is back on the board. Is this for LaRuse or for Emma, the question?
No, it's for, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, a couple other questions. We have, in our budget, we have, correct me if I'm wrong, 6.5 million being allocated towards arts in the 2025 budget. Who, Commissioner?
Through the mayor, I can get you the exact number, but
Something like
Give me
that,
one
but
minute.
if you have, if you had mentioned that arts program, if maybe we can, I'm sure we collaborate, but let's really collaborate and see
Yes.
what we can do.
I
with
just
that.
have a meeting with city staff to already
Excellent.
coordinate this year, yes.
Perfect. Going back to the street lighting, we didn't give you any money for street lighting last year,
There was an allocation, but it wasn't spent, Councilor, because the
It wasn't
project didn't-
spent.
That's right,
but you're asking for it again?
because we determined to do it in 2025.
But you're using the same money that we gave you in 2024?
I understand that we can't carry that over, so that's why we're going back with.
So it's not really new money.
Yeah.
If we allocated it in 2024, so it was 2024's budget, but we're giving it to them in 2025? Correct?
Oh, Maya, who's, would
Excellent.
be able to answer this
Oh, yeah.
question.
Perfect. And then,
Yeah.
maybe also, because I'm trying to find where we capture, you have $111,000 from reserves. We don't capture reserve funds, in total revenues. We do have a line item for it, but it's always zeroed out, is what I'm trying to look through.
Are you asking how much the reserve fund is for the BIA?
You're capturing it as a revenue.
I see. Oh, I'll let Maya.
So I'll try to tackle the first question on the lighting. So the 15,000, I believe that you're referring to, was part of the 2024 budget allocation. However, we only transfer the funds from the city to BIA if there has been a corresponding expenditure. So in 2024, due to the reasons that LaRose was outlining, this initiative did not kick off. So there was nothing transferred from the city. So this amount is again included in 2025 budget with the intention that it will be spent.
Okay, and so we've captured this in, whose budget is this under?
All of
Yes.
this,
Corporate.
other than the 40,000 for the top-up for the executive director salary, is part of the general government budget. So it's not allocated to individual operating departments.
Okay, so I wouldn't be able to find it in our budget?
It is part of it's cost center 191, so it's general government, yes. It is part of city's budget as one lump sum.
In what department?
So through the chair, the general government variance is captured under the operating overview in the budget binder, but due to the fact that the BIA didn't request any funds, there'll be no line item. But the general government page specifically is on,
And that's because we budgeted for all of these asks in 2024.
correct. So our variances just show the net incremental difference, and because there's no difference, with no line item.
Okay. Going back to street lighting, because are you planning on doing, with that money, are you planning on doing everything that you need all in one shot? Or is this a reoccurring?
I think we'd have to identify, going back, to which project we want to nominate for this, Councillor. There was a plan to sort of activate all the laneways in the downtown, so I believe this is one of the phases that we wanted to do. So this would definitely complete at least one of the laneways.
I'd be interested to know how much it costs to do all the laneways and just get it done all in one shot. That's what I would prefer. Why pick one over the other?
I
And
understand
whatever
from-
one you're gonna pick, I'm
Yeah.
gonna want the other one done anyways.
I believe this one is Sellers Lane, that we're looking at this year. But I believe in previous years, there was sort of, there was grants available through the other levels of government that helped us activate those other laneways too.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, I would like, even if it has to be a budget amendment, I'd like you to come back with a dollar amount on doing all of the laneways.
Will do.
And let's just do it all in one shot. Let's not piecemeal it together.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I believe we have Councillor Santos back on the board. This presentation has sparked lots of questions.
Thanks so much through you, Mr. Mayor. Stephanie, usually folks introduce themselves, it's because you're new as chair, and I have forgotten completely. What is your business again in the downtown, the name of your business?
So my business is Weston Espresso Bar.
Okay, yes, because I forgot what that was. So I just wanted to make sure that we included that and that members of council know what business it is that you own in the downtown core. And then the only other question, and Councillor Fleshy triggered this for me, why was the lighting not done last year? Was that, I hope it wasn't the city of Brampton not being able to do it, or what was the reason why?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Councillor, I think it was just the staffing. So it's just my position wasn't filled until halfway through the year. So that project didn't get underway.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks so much.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation. It's definitely
Thank you,
good to
Mayor.
know about the espresso. The world always needs more caffeine. Obviously, there's a lot of interest around the work we're doing in the downtown. That's great. The downtown revitalization is important to our council, and I think it's going to be an exciting few years, especially with what we know is coming down the pipe. So we have a motion to receive the presentation moved by Councillor Madero, seconded by Councillor Santos. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This takes us to our next delegation, which is the Brampton Library Board, and we have a presentation from Todd Kyle, CEO of the Brampton Library, and I believe Rada Taylor may be here virtually, or...
Unfortunately, Rada sends some regrets. Thank you. All right, good afternoon, Mayor and members of Council. I'm here to give the background to Brampton Library's 2025 operating and capital budget requests. The mission of the library, next slide please. The mission of the library is to build an inclusive community by inspiring learning, literacy, and social cohesion, and it articulates this vision through its values of creativity, curiosity, collaboration, community, and connection. Next slide please. The library's goals in its budget include, as always, offering no-cost access to a wide variety of resources, technology, programs, services, and spaces, with particular attention paid to academic and career success. We're focusing on engaging our users, growing our footprint, and expanding our services to a growing city, specifically in the eastern part of the city. Next slide, please. The drivers of our budget this year certainly, as I've said, include the demand for physical space. We certainly do face some capacity issues. These are also related to pressures, inflationary pressures on the need for library materials. That's both electronic and physical. In terms of population growth, we've been focused, of course, on the area surrounding the Chinguacousy Library. 111,000 population within 3 kilometers, expected to grow 10% in the next 5 years. And in the eastern part of Brampton, where we're about to open our Clairville branch, a 40,000 estimated population in that 3-kilometer radius, and expected to grow by 23% over the next 5 years. Most importantly, the other driver of that is creating pressure on our budget has been the fact that the lease where we're temporarily operating our Chinguacousy branch at the Chinguacousy Park Ski Chalet expires at the end of this year. However, we know that there is a willingness and option to extend it to beyond that if needed. Next slide, please. So in terms of our operating budget request, it is being driven by our strategic plan and by this facilities master plan. Some of the highlights include the renovation that is currently ongoing at the South Fletcher's branch in the Susan Fennell Sportsplex, our DEI strategy, fund development strategy that we're embarking on, and of course opening that branch, Clairville, in the eastern part of the city. Next slide, please. So in terms of a breakdown of our expenditures, on the left, the proposed budget is $23.1 million. 22.3 million of that would come from the property tax base, which represents approximately a 3.5% increase. This does include the balance of 4 full-time equivalent positions to round out the staff at the soon-to-be-open Clairville branch. Next slide, please. In terms of the capital budget, it certainly is also driven by our facilities master plan and the library board priorities identified in our strategic plan. This includes planning for an eventual library presence in the community hub projects, upgrading our IT infrastructure for better online discovery, and exploring all opportunities for branch expansion, including identifying an eventual new location for the Chinguzi branch. It's not on this slide, but of course the library board is happy about the announcement regarding the Embleton Community Center and Library, and we'll continue to work closely with our city partners on the design and development of that branch when it happens. Next slide, please. So in terms of the breakdown of our capital budget, you can see here the breakdown between tax base and development charges there. Our 2025 capital budget is relatively straightforward, and the majority of expenditures, or the majority of the request, is for collections. That's physical collections, most specifically books, which is an ongoing renewal that occurs with the library. Next slide, please. And in terms of the matters that we have referred to future years, there certainly is a need for the library, in partnership with City Finance, to do an assessment on all of the capital needs in the upcoming years. That's 2026 to 2029, because certainly if there are branch expansions, and especially if they have implications on operating budgets, there's a considerable need to take stock of that. There's a small matter that in 2026, the rent at our Clairville branch will need to be annualized. We've only budgeted for 10 months this year, which is appropriate because we're likely not to be open in the first couple of months, but in 2026 it will need to be annualized. Next slide, please. So anyways, in summary, this is a modest and responsible request that we believe will help the library make progress on its goals in supporting this vibrant community. So I'm open to any questions that we have today.
Okay, a few questions. First up is Councillor Asante, who I know is a big supporter of the Brampton Library.
Thank you very much, and through you, Mayor, thanks, Todd, for coming here today and presenting the budget as one of the two councillors, together with Councillor Barr, who has the honor of sitting on the library board and representing all of this council. Just wanted to say that we continue to support. Just wanted to give you an opportunity, and I know it would have to be at a very high level, but with respect to some of the efforts that you and some of the teams that you have helping you with regards to looking for new location to replace the Chinguzi branch. I guess without getting too deep into sensitive specifics, can you just provide us and the public with some details on how that's going?
Sure. Thank you very much, Councillor. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the library did engage a consultant, who many of you know, Anand Desai, who looked at options for a permanent long-term location for a Chinguzi branch. And really it boiled down to two categories of options. One of those included a lease of space in commercial space in the area, and the other that involved the acquisition of land and eventual construction of a new library branch. And we had explored and had extensive discussions about the option of sort of combining the two of those in the short sort of 5 to 10 year range leasing space, especially if the ski chalet was no longer available to us, and had extensive discussions with the landlord, and as well, of course, in the long term pursuing the eventual construction of a new library branch. And from what I understand, the appetite here and again on the library board is that accelerating as much as possible the land purchase and construction option is what is preferred, and that the option does exist if necessary for the library to continue operating that branch out of the ski chalet for that midterm. think that answers.
Yep, no, thank you, Todd, and through you, Chair. So just a question through you, Mayor, to staff. With regards to the ski chalet and its availability in the near term to be used by the library, how is that? Do we have any restrictions on the library being able to access that location while we're doing this work?
Through the mayor, maybe I can start. So right now, I don't believe there's any restrictions. I'm not familiar with the exact agreement, but I do believe it was referenced that it could be extended beyond 2025 until a new location is found. And when that happens, we'll be happy to put that facility back into our recreation portfolio.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Todd, again, to you and your team, and I have no further questions.
Next up is Councillor Fortini.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. And I was just going to ask some of the same questions that my colleague asked. Have you looked at maybe the construction? We have the old police station parking lot.
So we've been quite careful not to identify specific parcels of land, but we are aware that there is a parcel of land in the area that we would look to acquiring and constructing on without, again, as Councillor Vicente said, without being too specific.
And what about Bramley City Center inside?
Again, with regards to leasing of commercial space, we haven't been too specific in our public announcements as to the landlord that we have worked with, but we certainly have worked with a landlord representing a large retail complex in the area.
Just nice to have it there because people are used to it and everyone walks a lot there, a lot of the seniors, and I know we have a temporary there at the chalet, but it's nice to get it back. I know our chalet, the ski still hasn't started yet with the tubing, but we need that space sooner or later. So anyway, thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Power.
Thank you, and thank you, Todd, for everything that you do. The Chinguacousy branch, it was such a focal in Bramley and like a focus point, the loss of that being given away or being shown to give away is really a contentious issue within the Bramley area, and I'd love to see something like expedited to change. If there was a location found for Chinguacousy branch, what would happen to the Clairville branch? Hypothetically, would it still remain?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the Clairville branch is not in any way a replacement for Chinguacousy. In fact, it's quite, as you know, it's quite a distance away. It was only the timeline for working on it was accelerated due to the sort of budgetary opportunity that occurred because of the much lower rent that we pay at the ski chalet. But absolutely, we're the Clairville branch that we're about to open. We've signed a 10-year lease in that building, and we're obviously committed to it. So, in short, it wouldn't have an effect, at least from the library board's perspective.
So you would keep it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Thank you for the presentation. We have a motion moved by Councillor Brar, seconded by Councillor Vicente to approve receive the Brampton Library presentation. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, this takes us to our next item. Just to the clerk, there's no other additional delegations that came forward today? No, okay. Okay, so the next staff presentation is corporate support services. Alex, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And good afternoon, Mayor and members of Council. I'm pleased to present our proposed 2025 both operating and capital budget for corporate support services. These budgets demonstrate our continued commitment to supporting and enhancing the city operations of excellence and innovation and fiscal responsibility. I want to also thank all the staff that's been working tirelessly over the last many months in putting this budget together with all the corporate support divisions, and especially in the Mayor's Executive Budget Office. A lot of extensive work has gone in there looking for efficiencies, challenging our departments, and getting us to where we are today. We're very proud of presenting this proposed budget. The Corporate Support Service Department comprises of 5 different departments: finance, human resources, information technology, also organizational performance, equity, diversity, and inclusion, strategic communication, tourism and events, and starting this year also with our Service Brampton, sponsorship and corporate policy standards as well. So we welcome those areas to our family and corporate support services. As you know, corporate support services provides the foundational and fundamental functions to all the different departments in delivering on the council priorities that we all have for this strategic plan as we move forward in 2025. So part of the, next slide, please. Part of the budget goals that we have identified here, again, maintaining our current level of services that we have within the city, also addressing the growth and delivering on all the council priorities. One of the big things are gathering, the appropriate data to make data-driven decisions in the corporation. That's extremely important because, as many of you know, it's difficult to manage something you can't measure. So it's very important that we implement the proper support mechanisms within the different departments. Fiscal responsibility and enhancing our whole human resources department in terms of critical retentions and retention within our city, and also attracting new talent as well. Adoption of the maintenance for technologies is something that we're focusing in. Our IT department is reviewing a whole different IT strategy plan that we're hoping to move forward with in 2025, and that'll bring a new way of delivering much of our IT services within the city. Effective communication through our strategic stratcoms is important in terms of consulting with our city services and programs, delivering our programs to the community with the different stakeholders. Next slide, please. So the budget drivers that we have for 2025 are focused on maintaining current service levels, again, addressing the growth that we have within the city, and then the various legislative requirements that we have to meet, such as the region of Peel services that are being transferred over and how that fits in. The pressures that we have with the economic pressures, of course, are inflation, our collective agreements, and also the goods and services that we provide. As you know, over the past several years, goods and services have increased substantially to what they used to be pre-pandemic. Implementing the new IT strategy that I mentioned, and also focusing on cybersecurity requirements to protect the city assets. Next slide, please. So also in the human resources part, the implementation of a supported employment pilot program emphasizing on inclusion and accessibility, completion of the citywide job evaluation project to align the roles and organizational goals, investments in cybersecurity and disaster recovery of about $1.6 million to safeguard the city operations. So continue to focus on innovation with an $8.27 million capital allocation, including network and telecom, and I'll get a little bit more into that when we get into the capital budget side of it. On the finance side, the continuation of the Mayor's Executive Budget Office, enhancing management of the city's investment portfolio, and also continuing on with our financial master plan development that we do every year. Next slide, please. So in our organizational performance, equity, diversity, and inclusion, we're hoping to establish 2 additional employee resource groups this year as we move forward, as well as continuing the state of local infrastructure requirements to report back as a provincial requirement, and then also the delivering on long-term customer experience plan to council that has been approved. Next slide, please. And I will touch on, before we go past that, in terms of the strategic communication and tourism, we have many events that we're expanding on, signature events such as Canada Day, Diwali, and New Year's Eve to enrich the community experience, expand sponsorship opportunities as well. Also in 2025 is the use of the municipal accommodation tax that's been factored into the operating budgets as well. Next slide, please. This slide highlights a total proposed budget for 2025. It's a net of 76.9 million, just under 77 million, which is a 2.7% increase from last year. As highlighted, the focus is on supporting department growth, addressing increased operational complexities, and driving data-informed decision-making. Breaking that down, primarily, many of these operational impacts and increases are supporting the other departments, and certainly be able to answer to any specific questions on that. So the budget, although it shows 89.4, that's the gross. The net is 76,940,000, which is a 2.7% increase, or 1.9, almost just under $2 million increase from 2024. Next slide, please. And the capital budget focuses on the core technology program. That includes different elements such as network, telecom, radio infrastructure refreshes, data center refreshes, desktop refreshes, and cybersecurity initiatives that primarily cover the bulk of the increase. And also outlined there is the financial master plan for 200,000. Next slide, please. So again, the total 2025 capital program is 8.5 million, and that's slightly lower than the 2024 capital program, but that covers much of what we hope to implement in 2025. There were substantial other increases that we had to do because of the nature of capital projects that have been approved by council that have operationalized. Some of the continuation on these, we did find efficiencies to reduce, to compensate for some of the increases that are not directly reflected here. Next slide, please. Yeah, I'll take any questions now. That concludes the presentation.
Okay, seeing the first question is Councillor Pelletier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Alex, for the presentation. I was just looking, and I'll start with Stratcoms. Seeing that Stratcoms, the department is, seems to be one of the lowest increases, although you do have the equity office is actually a reduction in the budget. Increase of 435,000, yet the highlights that you have for 2025 is a lot of growth in communications. You have enhancements. You're developing, either developing or building off of some strategies, programs, updating to corporate brand guidelines. And what I'm trying to say is all those highlights seem to be a lot with such a low increase in the budget. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So in strategic communications, for example, when you look at tourism and events, you know, we have in there for the GT20, we have a whole bunch of events that we plan with New Year's Eve, with Canada Day, et cetera. But keep in mind, we're applying a lot of the municipal accommodation tax, and those revenues would offset the increases primarily.
Sorry, say that again.
Sorry,
municipal what?
The municipal accommodation tax. It's approximately 1.6 million.
Did you just make that up, Alex? I've never heard that before.
No. So, so it's a tax that's paid by hotels and everything because Brampton brings in events. There's a municipal accommodation tax that we have implemented a couple of years ago now. So those revenues are applied to a lot of these to offset the costs.
What's that dollar amount? What's that revenue?
It's 1.6 million a year. Half of that is a direct contribution to these events, and the other half is done through a committee that can determine and help formulate how those monies are spent. That involves some of the municipal accommodation tax stakeholders.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to jump to IT. Bear with me here. Okay, some of the items that I don't fully understand, like a data center refresh. Can you explain what a data center refresh is? Where is that data center? You're asking for 990,000 now, but in 2026 is 1.8 million, going up to 2.1 million in 2027.
Yeah. So those are primarily life cycles from servers that house all our data in our data centers and the specific locations. I'd have to get our CIO to help me with some of that, because I know it's across the city, and whether it's the best to maybe mention those physical centers, I'm not sure, but primarily those are infrastructure assets and life cycle replacements. So we've got to replace servers, we have to replace hard drives, we have to replace much of the infrastructure that supports all our data within the city.
What was the 2024 ask for the refresh? I seem to think this is the one thing that I kind of pick on every year, although I think you're calling it something different this year. Data center refresh. I recall that being such a large number on a yearly basis. Why only 990,000 now? What was the ask in 2024? Because I couldn't find that.
I'd have to have our finance folks look up the 2024 request. What I could say through the chair to Councillor Pelleshi is that we may have broken it down a bit differently, because there's also telecom, what they call switchers and everything that have to be replaced, and that's in the $1.7 million bucket. So when you combine those, and we want to get more granular in terms of specific areas that we're putting capital monies in, and part of our new strategy with our CIO onboarded and looking at the whole changes in IT, we want to make sure we kind of silo everything that needs to be siloed, so it's a very clear and transparent way of reporting back. And Mark, I don't know, did you get the 2024? I'm not sure which program is it quoted. This is 2024.
That would make sense, definitely.
So,
but
one was a $3.8 million request last year, but I believe that was combined. I'd have to confirm that for you through the chair to Councillor Pelleshi.
That was combined with something else.
Sorry?
That was combined with something else,
Yes,
is what
yeah,
you're saying.
yeah.
And now I'm seeing all of the other network, telecom, radio refresh,
That's right.
desktop refresh, desktop background, visual technologies refresh. What's
Yes.
a visual technologies refresh?
That's repair and replacement of technologies that includes upgrades to council chambers. For example, the visuals and audios within these chambers are approximately 10 years old. And typically, life cycles of electronics is around 8 to 8 years old. So that's replacement of a lot of those technologies, and that's the budget for that.
Okay. You have a 2027 development charges background study of $350,000. And the DC studies have to be done every 5 years. So in 2027, it needs to be completed. Is it 350 for every year going forward, or is this a one-time fee and then looking for the remaining in 2027?
I'll defer that to our treasurer, who can probably answer that better than I can.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the chair, Councillor, we in the last DC study that we approved this year, we said that because of the transition of services from the region and other factors that are going on, we will do a refresh or a renewal of the DC bylaws in 2028, after we see like where everything falls and so on. So this is being brought forward and done earlier than usual because of these circumstances and because we want to reflect these changes.
Okay, and is this us being able to build off of the downloading of planning, or is this something that is a must because of the downloading of planning?
It's not a must, it's the action that we requested to do in order to be able to reflect the new structure after that. And it will be a one-time thing, it won't be year after year, you asked the question.
It won't be year after year?
Yeah, we won't be doing the study every year and so on.
So you're taking 350 now,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're gonna use that in the 2028 study?
For that study, yes.
What is today's, I don't understand what today would bring you for the 2028 DC study review. Why wouldn't it be something?
We would need to approve the budget so that we can do the RFP for it, so that we can be ready when we need to complete the study. And the study takes about a year. So this is accounting for the timelines to get there.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
think that's all I have. I did have one other thing, but I've lost it right now. And so I think I'll yield. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Point order, Mike.
Thank you. Something else I do want to ask, and maybe you can come back in by way of a briefing note. A lot of the technology services are internal services that we use for the day-to-day work throughout the city. What I'd like to understand, if you have it in here, I don't know, is what services that we're increasing to better communicate or better have an easier system working relationship with the residents. How are they utilizing our own IT services? And if that's something that you could come back by way of a briefing note, I'd appreciate it.
And through the chair, we can certainly come back with a briefing note, and I'm just thinking that it might be better to do a follow member post after budget. I'm not sure if you need it during budget. If you need it during budget, we'll try our best, but I think
No, I really don't.
We definitely have an IT strategy that involves AI and a whole bunch of other stuff that I think once that's finalized, we can definitely communicate that to Mayor and Council.
That'd be great. Thanks, Alex. Okay. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so seeing no more questions for corporate services, I have a motion put forward by Councillor Palashi, seconded by Deputy Mayor Singh to receive the corporate services presentation. All those in favor? Motion carries. Why don't we plan to do one more today? We can do the planning, building, and growth management section today, and then we can save legislative services in the office of the CAO for our session on Thursday. I also want to just confirm, I did speak to members of council and the clerk, and the Friday session, the plan is to cancel that session because too many members of council have other government business that day, including regional business. It's a formal notice, okay. Okay, so we'll do planning, building, and growth management today, and then tomorrow, on tomorrow's council, committee of council. Thursday, we'll do legislative services in the office of the CEO. So to Commissioner Ganesh, who is the wizard of getting rid of red tape in our city, the floor is yours.
Through you, Mayor Brown, thanks very much for that introduction. So good afternoon, Mayor Brown and members of council. It is my pleasure to present to you the proposed 2025 operating capital budget for the Planning, Building, and Growth Management Department. Next slide, please. As you know, the department is focused on delivering council's priorities for our residents and businesses, with an outcome of ensuring that Brampton is a complete, connected community where people can live, work, and play. We have a complement of 300 dedicated staff charged with delivering key services, everything from development application review to policy planning, overseeing planning in our downtown, environmental planning and engineering approvals, and building permit issuance and inspections. The leadership team that you have working alongside you, our residents and businesses, consists of Farhad Abibi, our Chief Building Official and Director of Building, Alan Parsons, our Director of Development Services and Design, Andrea Oliveira, our Director of Downtown Revitalization, Michael Harrell, our Director of the Environment and Development Engineering, and Henrik Bogart, our Director of Integrated City Planning. Together, their collective leadership continuously goes above and beyond to make big moves a reality in Brampton. And as a quick recap, here are some highlights from 2024. To the Mayor's point, we continue to look for ways to cut red tape and streamline approvals. That's resulted in over 40,000 housing units in our development approvals pipeline that are shovel-ready and simply awaiting building permit applications from the industry. Last year, we received 910 development applications, our highest volume since 2021, and we were 25% faster in reviewing and approving them. We issued 7,379 building permits with a construction value of $2.4 billion in 2024. That's $35 million more than 2023. And to achieve this, we conducted 218,000 inspections. We oversee the operations and maintenance of 164 stormwater management ponds, with an additional 29 to be assumed, bringing the total to 193. And we are responsible for the stormwater program and related assets with a total system valuation of approximately $1.8 billion. 2024 was also a monumental year in our downtown, with significant progress on our streetscape improvement projects. And we can't forget the strides that we made in new emerging areas. We now have an approved secondary plan for Heritage Heights. We continue to deliver communities in areas such as Secondary Plan 47. And together with your leadership, we tackled new issues in our mature neighborhoods, such as right-sizing driveway widths and ARU legislation. Next slide, please. Our proposed 2025 budget aligns with the theme of driving progress and prosperity. The operating capital requests respond to an ever-evolving and complex legislation. I think you jumped a slide by accident, slide 3. There we go. 2024 was a busy year, as I said, reporting on numerous significant policy changes in the city building business. You'll recall many reports on provincial legislation, everything from forecasting future growth, multiple reports on ARU legislation. Together, we addressed site alteration for soils and field management. We responded to provincial legislation on bike lanes. We tackled the issue of unlicensed contractors, and we can't forget the issue of downloading of land use planning for the region of Peel. In response to the drivers that you see before you on this slide, the budget goals are focused on, first and foremost, supporting our people. And this is more than just filling a vacancy. The leadership team that I work with continues to be purposeful in filling the roles from within to retain top talent. And I will say this continues to be of utmost importance for the city as Brampton competes for a decreasing global pool of talent to help us lead us through this next era of growth. Secondly, driving service quality excellence. In Build's 2024 survey, Team Brampton ranked first in approval timelines, with cities of a population over 250,000. And this was no easy task given the ever-increasing complexity and volume of applications. And lastly, we continue to be agile and adaptable to emerging issues by optimizing our existing resources. Take, for instance, the illegal truck parking and container storage and ARU files. Those are two examples of we worked with council and other stakeholders from within the organization to address the issues at hand. Next slide, please. The proposed 2025 operating budget includes 18 staff requests, none of which I'm happy to report will have an impact on the tax base. As you can see on the slide, these positions will be funded through a mix of capital recoveries, the building reserve, fee revenue, and external recoveries. Of the 18, 7 are a result from the dissolution of the land use planning function from the region of Peel, and 11 are proposed to the base operating growth to drive council's priorities and directions. Next slide, please. As I said, the balance of our staff requests reflect base operating growth, again, with no impact to the tax. These positions respond and align to the drivers and goals that I spoke to earlier, and will place the city in a pole position to execute on the increased service levels and emerging bodies of work to deliver our capital project. In building, there's an ask of 4 staff in an advisory, supervisory capacity. Together, these 4 staff will help improve customer service, and as was said earlier by other commissioners, we are a data-driven organization, and data is key to helping inform decisions in our building department to help expedite timely approvals. In the downtown revitalization, 2025 will be a big year for that program. 2 positions are being requested: a project manager for the downtown construction, which will support the timely execution of planned capital activities, and a planner to support and complete the much-needed downtown secondary plan. Next slide, please. When it comes to the Environment and Development Engineering Division, the proposed senior manager position will be charged to ensure the timely completion of Riverwalk. And those of you who are listening online this morning to the business roundtable, that was certainly a topic of discussion. In the 2 engineer environmental compliance positions were council directed to support the city's new site alteration bylaw. In our integrated city planning division, we will propose the housing advisor position, and that position will really support and administer the housing strategy for the city, basically overseeing the Housing Accelerator Fund, the Build Faster Fund, and the city's recently launched Community Improvement Plan for Affordable Housing that will also be managed by that position. And lastly, we have an MTSA, a Major Transit Station Senior Advisor role, to support expedited commitments to deliver secondary plans and facilitate approvals in our MTSAs. Next slide, please. In summary, the proposed operating budget is in great shape because we generate more revenue than we spend. This is because we have a healthy building reserve of $32 million, and with council's direction to ensure we have full cost recovery in the review and processing of development applications, we are forecasting an additional 1.9 million in combined revenue with Committee of Adjustment and Development applications for 2025. All this to say the modest increase in labor expenditures compared to 2024 is really to account for the 18 positions. Next slide, please. Now on to the capital budget. 50% of the proposed capital budget comes from dollars awarded to the city from the province through the Build Faster Fund. Council may recall these funds were secured in 2023 for meeting our housing pledge target, breaking ground on a total of 6,800 new housing starts in that year. I will note, though, in 2024, the market was not as strong and we were falling behind our target, but that's indicative of global market forces. As of October of 2024, we only had 4,900 housing starts in Brampton. When it comes to Riverwalk, as previously mentioned, Council made a significant capital investment in 2024. This money is needed to advance the detailed design and fund the forthcoming construction tender. Detailed design is currently at 60%. 100% detailed design is expected to be completed by March, with tendering and construction planned for spring of 2025. These funds will support land acquisition requirements to fully unlock the development potential in our downtown, helping us realize 13,000 housing units over the next decade once the SPA is lifted. And when it comes to the Housing Brampton portfolio, in 2025, $10 million of the Build Faster Fund is being used to support implementation of affordable housing in Brampton. Council will recall the bylaw for this CIP, or the Community Incentive Program, was passed on December 11th of last year, and as of January 1, applications for funding are now open. This CIP will help to bring affordable housing to Brampton and can provide an upfront grant to a maximum of $340,000 per unit. Next slide, please. The capital budget request for 2025 will truly advance making big moves a reality in our downtown. When it comes to Ken Willen Square, in 2024, as was previously mentioned, the city launched an international design competition, and both the redevelopment of Ken Willen Square are well underway in that competition. Phase 1 of the competition recently closed, yielding 5 shortlisted teams, and Phase 2 will be issued in February 2026. Construction is planned for Ken Willen Square to begin this summer, and both squares are targeted to be completed in 2026. The downtown improvements. This funding of $8.2 million provides funding for streetscapes to rejuvenate the look and feel of our streets. This budget requests the support for granite pavers to be implemented in our downtown. That was approved and directed by Council on July 10th of last year. And if any of you are taking a walk in our downtown, you'll see that the pavers have arrived and are ready for installation. When it comes to the downtown secondary plan, the previous secondary plan no longer reflects the ambitious growth target set by our council for the downtown. And with flood mitigation work underway through Riverwalk, the development potential originally contemplated and that original secondary plan is no longer relevant. So this money is used to update that plan. And then there's $300,000 for the Heritage Theater block. The purpose of this is really for external consulting services to help advance and finalize negotiations. Next slide, please. To conclude, the proposed capital budget represents investments to drive council's priorities. 2025 is about right-sizing our capital program in relation to the available capacity needed to deliver for our residents and businesses. And this in part explains why the proposed 2025 program is half of what the 2024 budget was. This year's $50.4 million program demonstrates our ability to use unspent capital funding while ensuring that we build what we have committed in relation to the timing and availability of our resources. Next slide, please. This slide speaks to a referred matter that I believe speaks to the stormwater issue that is listed as 7.1 on the agenda. So with council's indulgence, this brings me to the formal conclusion of my presentation. But before I close, I would be remiss if I did not take this opportunity to thank the entire PPGM team, everyone from our front office staff to our amazing inspectors, to our supervisors and managers, who truly work tirelessly to go above and beyond, right up to my leadership team, who continue to support me in delivering council's priorities and build a great city. I'm open to any questions from council or any remarks from the Chair or Vice Chair of Planning should they wish.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I'm looking to see if there are any questions from members. Seeing none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Paleski and Deputy Mayor Singh to receive your report. All in favor, any opposed? That carries. And so, folks, as the mayor had indicated, we will now be recessing this session, and we will be coming back on Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. We stand in recess. Thank you.